Zara, welcome to the Brand Builders Lab podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I was just saying this is so full circle because I've been listening for the longest time and now I'm here. Wild.
So good. And I was just sharing on my Instagram stories that you have started a TikTok series called Think Like a Marketer. And I'm a bit obsessed with it. And I love what you're doing. And also, you spoke at the conference at the beginning of the year, the Digital Picnic had a marketing conference, I guess I'd call it. And you were so great. So I'm just like, I need to get this girl on the podcast and share her with my audience. I'm so excited that you're here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Amazing. All right, cool. For those of my audience who don't know you, give us a little bit of a rundown. Like, you're currently working for the Digital Picnic. You've been in marketing for a while, but you did it in your own way. So give us the story.
I know, and I always struggle to answer this because I definitely don't have my elevator pitch down pat. It has not been a traditional marketing journey by any sense, but I guess I always loved social media marketing and business, but didn't really realize that it could be a career. So never went into that traditional kind of pathway out of school. And I've always pitched social media and marketing. I've opened like 10 businesses over the years. So it's always been simmering in the background. But I also had a passion for music growing up. So I was a singer growing up. And then after high school, I decided to be a singing teacher. And then I did that for 4 or 5 years and then decided to go out on my own and open my own business. And so for the past 5 years, and still to this day, I own a business called Soundcheck Studios, which is a music studio. And I really built my passion for business and marketing and brand through owning my own business. But about 3 years in, I wanted to fully branch over to the marketing world full time and really test that out for myself. So I started my first full time role in marketing was within Adore Beauty. And then I also went into a couple different hair brands stocked in retailers like Sephora, etc., and really just learned like D2C product, supply chain, PR, how to get into retailers. Like it was just the most amazing experience. And now about a year ago, I moved over to agency. So I work at the Digital Picnic, which you know very well. It's the best business, such an incredible workplace. And I currently am the senior social media specialist there, but I oversee our social media organic and partnerships kind of department or business unit, I guess you would call it. And my role now is I am the senior lead for all of our bigger clients from a strategic point of view. But I also lead the team that does the execution. And I also get to contribute to our training as well, which TDP is so well known for. So I get to coach brands every day and present strategies and tap back into that coaching, that love for coaching, which I always had as a singing teacher. I get to do that now. So that's my full-time job and I still own the business and I'm lucky enough that it runs itself and I have a management team that are incredible. We've got 15 employees and it does its thing in the background, which is so cool. But my focus now is like my marketing career. That is definitely where my passion is.
Oh my gosh, so much to unpack.
I
I
know.
did not know so much about that. Like, I didn't know that you still owned a business. But first of all, let's talk a little bit about the singing. So, what was that in like high school productions or like where were you singing?
Yeah, so I did singing from when I was like 7 years old and then all the way through school. And I was doing, music theater, but then also I was like flying to Sydney and doing artist boot camp and development there as well, which was really cool. And I always loved singing and I guess the creative outlet of singing as well. And I still love singing, but I decided to channel that into a business and a career because that was what I saw in front of me as the first option. But yeah, I've always done it.
Love that. So good. And so, how did you get into Adore Beauty? What role was it? How did you make that connection and that leap?
Yes, it's such a funny one. So I actually was I was in a contract role there. So I was essentially working for another lady called Brit, and I was working alongside her to jump into businesses. And I was essentially their social media specialist. I was working within their private label team. So I was working on brands like Viviology and AB Lab and helping them boost them and launch them into market. But the kind of connection I draw is it's so funny. I think you have to find transferable skills when you're trying to jump across industries. And so I think I just really pitched myself really hard. And I think that's been a consistent thing throughout my entire career is that I just when I want something, I go after it really hard and I prove myself not just on paper, but in the way I show up to interviews and in the way I present myself in conversation as well. That's how I got that role, which was an amazing experience.
That's so good because I know that you've also talked online about the fact that you've had a very non-linear path in your marketing career and journey, which has been really great because I think there are a lot of people that want to get into the space but feel like, oh, I haven't done the degree or I haven't like taken this formal step that you're supposed to take. And so I know that you've spoken a bit about that. What's been the mindset around the different changes when it's come to the roles that you've wanted to go after? Like, how have you thought about the way that you're pitching yourself? Because obviously, you've just said that is something that you've done really well. So, talk to me a little bit about that.
I know. I think there's like this deep self belief and like unrelenting audacity that you need.
Love it. We're so here for it.
Yeah. And I think that I have this deep belief in myself. And I think my parents have instilled this in me to be like a very independent female since I was really young, which I'm so grateful for. But I have this belief that when I go after something that I want, it's going to end in one of two ways. It's either going to be everything I've hoped for and it's going to be everything that I pitched for and it ticks every box. Or it's not going to turn out the way I've hoped, but I'm going to learn so much from the situation because I got myself in that room. I pitched myself. Maybe it didn't land, but next time my pitch is going to be stronger. Or next time I'm going to know how they react and how to tailor it to them. Or I know how to get myself in the room in the first place. So I just see every failure as like a learning experience. And I think that's what gives me this audacity that I know that no matter what, it's going to work out in my favor. And I think that when you can instill that belief in yourself, it makes those opportunities a lot less scary.
That's so good. And I just also think just go like seeing something and being like, I reckon I can do that. I'm just gonna go for it. It's the whole thing of what's the worst that can happen? You don't get it and you learn something in the process and then like you make the next decision. Otherwise you do get it. And I think so often the fear of rejection or the fear of not being perfect or whatever it is stops us from taking those chances.
100%. And I think Cherie told me one time, like Cherie, the owner of the Digital Picnic, she's our founder. She told me when I first started, she was like, "You are the biggest try hard I've ever met." And I mean that as a compliment. And I was like, wow, that is such a funny thing to say to me because you grow up in Australia in
Mhm.
particular and you think trying hard at something or showing that you're interested in something makes you less cool or makes you less whatever it is, and especially in school, like showing that you care about school or your grades or me being in musicals for me was like a massive try hard thing. So when someone said that to me as a compliment, I was like, I am claiming that as my brand now because that I now call myself a try hard and I put that throughout my content that I'm like, yeah, I'm a try hard. And why do we put such a negative connotation towards trying hard at things? Like that makes no sense to me now.
Yeah, absolutely. And we want to be working with and have people around us who do try hard, who are really taking the initiative to learn and grow and like test and try things. Like yes to try hards. We can just have that as like the main message of the podcast. We're here for it. So good. Okay, great. Listen, let's dive a little bit into marketing because I love that you are responsible for organic because that is what majority, a lot of small businesses are obviously focusing on without big marketing budgets and paid ads, etc. So, what are the platforms that you focus on and what do you see that's working at the moment with them?
Oh, okay. I think my favorite platforms are TikTok, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is like human first stories, thought leadership. I think of LinkedIn like a platform. I love LinkedIn. I've fallen in so much in love with LinkedIn over the last few years, and I've seen so much organic success there, which is so amazing. You don't need as much spend and paid kind of input to actually see success on a platform like this. But I think that something that like a little tip on LinkedIn that works really well is remembering the audience there are usually professionals, they're busy people. So I'm seeing this trend of really skimmable content, like short sentences, bite-sized content, or it's really formatted in a way that you can just skim read between meetings or in breaks or when you're commuting. And so I think breaking down thought leadership and unique perspectives, but in a way that's really easy to digest for people that are on the go. It works really well on LinkedIn. And then I think that TikTok and Instagram, they're so different. And I think that a lot of people think they're similar, but they're so different in so many ways. I think one of the big differences between the platforms that's really shaped like the behavior of people that open the app in particular is the fact that TikTok has the sound on the platform when you open it, whereas Instagram has sound off. And I think this automatically trains people to open Instagram in noisy situations or out in public more often than TikTok. And TikTok is like your comfort scroll, doom scroll in bed kind of situation. And so I think Instagram, it's important that your content can be consumed with no sound or having closed captions on the videos or having short form content that's easy to watch with no sound on. It's very visual and attainable. And then TikTok, in other words, is the hook is really important. And you can use verbal hooks and visual hooks, but also text hooks and captions as well. But it's really important to have consistency in your content series. And I'm seeing content series work really well for me in particular, but all my clients as well on TikTok.
That's so good. Okay, so let's break it down. So, LinkedIn, story based content and thought leadership. Is there anybody in particular? Obviously, Cherie does it so well. And I know that she's absolutely killed it from a PR perspective, like getting PR angles and publications and all of it from a lot of her founder and autistic founder or neurodivergent founder content. Is there anybody else that you feel is doing it really well that is a great example for us to go and look at?
I have the most random example, and you're going to laugh at me. But do
I'm
you,
here for it.
yeah, I'm obsessed. And I'm not sure if I have a feeling you might be a little bit controversial, but do you know Jim's Mowing?
Yeah.
So Jim, the founder of Jim's Mowing, I don't know who's running his social media. It's clearly not him. Like he's got some person that's incredible at creating his personal brand, but his storytelling and his tone of voice and the way he formats his posts is so incredible. And I take so much inspiration from him in particular for my clients that are a little bit less social savvy or they think they're in a bit of an unsexy industry, because I think when you're in a sexy industry like beauty or fashion or lifestyle, it's easy to market yourself because it's aspirational. But when you work in mowing, it's no one's like dreaming. Some people are, but no one's really dreaming of being in charge of mowing. So the way he's positioned his brand online, I think it shows that it's possible for anyone in any industry to build that for themselves. And I think he's just done it so perfectly. So it's a bit of a random one, but I think it's just a good example of what's possible on LinkedIn with such a bland industry.
Yeah, how funny. Obviously, they're B2C as well, but I think the general feedback that I get, and as an ex HR girl, do talk about the fact that I do have LinkedIn PTSD from being on the platform every single day for years. But a lot of people feel like it's very boring, it's very dry. How do we shift that mindset? And is it more B2B on there?
I think it can be both, but I think that you just have to have a different approach with D2C. I think that when you're showing up on LinkedIn, maybe you're not going to drive sales to your ideal audience as much. It depends on the industry, but you might be more looking at positioning yourself or building stakeholders or relationships within your industry or looking for partnerships or media. And so your messaging feels different because of that, because you're not trying to show the value of your products. You're trying to show the value of your team or your brand. Or maybe it's also talent, like you're looking for talent. So you're showing, I think something TDP does really well is showing our policies and inside our business so that when we are hiring for a role, people can look at our page and we are more competitive than another business. So I think that it's relevant to every business, but I think it's how you approach it and who you're trying to target on that platform that can be tailored.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, great. And I think right now, and correct me if you think differently, but I feel like Instagram is starting to become a little bit more TikTok, as in I'm seeing the more unpolished, non-curated videos that are doing quite well on there. And so I think it's just really interesting the differentiation that you made, which I agree with. Like I'm definitely scrolling on TikTok and not Instagram when I'm sitting on the couch, like chilling in the evenings. I just find it more entertaining because I feel like Instagram's been a little bit more curated in the past. But I do feel like I'm getting a lot more suggestions of very raw and authentic and very in the moment content. What do you think is happening there?
Yeah, I definitely think unfortunately, Instagram's like constantly a little bit one step behind TikTok is what I feel. Like they're releasing features so far behind what even the SEO recent update. I'm like, TikTok has been doing that since
Mm.
2020, and suddenly you're stepping into SEO. I'm like, finally, come to the party, Instagram. Geez. I think a really good place. I think definitely reels are becoming more of that, more unfiltered approach. But I definitely think stories is another thing that Instagram has that TikTok hasn't quite tapped into in the same way. I think that I also read this thing, I'm pretty sure it's around 60% of people open Instagram and scroll through stories or tap through stories and then exit the app. And I'm definitely one of those people that
Yeah.
just stories and doesn't scroll through the feed as much and then exits and scrolls on TikTok. So I think it's also utilizing your stories as your behind the scenes and your more unfiltered, real approach, because I think also you can remember that it's only there for 24 hours and then it disappears. So you can be a little bit more free with what you post there. But definitely, I think Instagram is trailing behind TikTok slowly.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like a lot of my audience are mainly on Instagram. That's the OG, like they've been there a long time. That's where they still are. But they're also feeling like it's crickets.
Mm.
Like the engagement isn't there as much. And a lot of them aren't on TikTok. And I'm just pushing a little bit to try it and test it and see in a much more unfiltered way, in a much more conversational way. Because I just think you can't just stick with something because it's what you've always done if it's not working for you. And that's a lot of the conversations that I'm having as well is like I'm there and I'm doing what I think I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm not really getting the traction or the response that I want. When we're just talking about Instagram, from an engagement perspective, is there any strategies or anything that you're using with your clients that is working really well?
Have you tried trial reels yet? I'm so curious to know. You have?
I have, but I don't feel like they've done much. So I still do it. I go and I create my reel and then I go into drafts and I duplicate it. And I do a lot of my reels in trial and then also post to my feed too, which is fine. But yeah, I don't feel like I get a lot. If I actually tallied up the views, I think it would be still a substantial amount of views, but there's nothing that's popped off or done
Mm.
anything amazingly well.
Oh, so interesting. I think it's very hit and miss for sure, but we've been testing it at TDP and we've seen that I think it's a particular type of content that performs really well on trial reels, and it is top of funnel. It has to be, I think it goes without saying, but it has to be super appealing to a cold audience. So what we've been doing is we've been going and searching through our maybe slightly viral pieces on TikTok or even on Instagram through the archives of what's performed really well in the past. And we've just reposted it to trial reels, even if it's super old, even if it's 2 years old and it got 100,000 views, we're posting it back on trial reels and we're seeing really incredible results. The other thing I would say with Instagram is because unfortunately, Meta really loves to give engagement that is paid for now. And that's becoming more and more the case where organic is being stripped back and you need to pay to play. I think we've been running engagement campaigns on paid ads, which is a whole other conversation, but
Mm.
been running that alongside the organic strategy so that the top of funnel reach is getting a little bit of a boost. And then we're really tapping into storytelling and humanized content for that middle of funnel engaging content. And we've seen that formula working really well because you're consistently bringing new people into your, I guess, your world, but then you're creating content organically that's hooking them in further. So I think running that engagement campaign, they're super cheap to run. You can run them for $5 a day at like a cent per view. It's super cheap. And running that alongside an organic strategy, you don't need to go hard into conversion campaigns, but that sits really nicely together.
So just to clarify that,
Yeah.
so if there is a top of funnel piece of content that's working really well, so if you go and look at your analytics and you've got something that kind of popped off or just got a lot of engagement, then that is something that you would run as an engagement ad for around $5 a day.
Yeah. And you can run like three for $5 a day. So you could run you could split that spend between a few, but $5 a day is plenty enough.
Yeah, I love that. And I do think you've got to mix up your strategies as well. Like you can't just keep doing the same thing. And if it's not working, just be like, I'm still doing it and it's still not working. So, yeah. So I want to dive into series because obviously you're doing the TikTok series of how to think like a marketer, which is fantastic. And so talk to me about how series work for my audience that
Mm.
maybe haven't really thought about doing one, and then how you're planning out your series and thinking about it. And what are the goals? Like, what do you want to happen?
Yeah, that's such a good question and maybe something that I'm still figuring out for myself. But being on your podcast is one. So there we go. Tick that one up. So I think what the way I think about TikTok is that I call it like the comfort channel. Like I was saying before, it's where you doom scroll. It's this really safe space where people can predict what's coming to them and the content gets served to them that they want to see. A series is really great because on TikTok, creating some kind of repetition, whether it's in the hook of every piece of content or whether it's in the topic that you're talking about or whether it's in the visuals that you're creating, a lot of people will say, sit in the same space. I know your corner is so recognizable and iconic because I have seen it so many times, but having that recognizable factor, whether it's the clothes you wear or the way you do your hair, is really important. And I think a content series can really tap into that on TikTok. And just for some like background information, I've been posting on TikTok for years now. And I've done, I think, 13 episodes of Think Like a Marketer now. And in those 13 episodes, I've got, I think, around 5,000 followers on TikTok in those 13 episodes. So the last 13 videos, I've gained 3,000 followers.
Amazing.
Yeah, five of my 5,000. So I reckon the 100 videos before it didn't do as well as the last 13 videos within this content series. So there's just something about some recognizable, repetitive format that sits really well with people that you can become known for as well, which is super important to be able to be remembered, because otherwise people will just say, who's that girl on TikTok? She has brown hair. She's from Melbourne. She does marketing. Who is that? It could be a million people. You know what I mean? So it gives something for everyone to grab onto within your brand.
And so how did you decide that's what you were going to do?
I think I noticed a trend within our industry where within my own jobs previously and also just talking to people at networking events that there was this trend of really not tapping into the deep thinking that a marketer really needs. I feel that marketers need to think so broadly about things. And I think people think channel specific or they think a series of one of the pieces that I did recently was around second order thinking and thinking about the long-term impact of the marketing choices you make. Like you might need sales today, but if you run a 50% off campaign, is that diluting your brand for the years to come? And so thinking about the long-term effects of the marketing choices that you're making today on your brand and thinking about that holistic view of how everything fits together, I think it's really important, especially for junior marketers, to start understanding how that all fits together. And so I really just wanted to start empowering people to tap into those tools. But also I've been learning myself throughout the way because I'm thinking, what am I going to post tomorrow? Okay, I have to think of something and I'm going to do some research and I'm teaching myself things as I go. So that's where it came from.
Amazing. So I'd love to dive into that a little bit as well. But the other question that I have is like when you're doing research, because I don't think that a lot of people, like when they're creating, they're doing research. Like it's like a bit of a, oh, this is what I can post today. Let me just put it out there. When you're creating that sort of content, how much time are you spending creating?
I have to say a bit.
What's a bit? What's a bit?
Which is maybe to turn people off, which I'm not proud of. But the good thing about this series, the way I've edited it is I'm using B-roll or like evergreen footage, and I can use the same footage over and over again. So I can edit the same clips together and I can just grab whatever's in my camera roll and piece it together. And so I'm not filming specific things. And then all I really have to worry about is the voiceover. So that's where most of the time goes into is what am I going to say and how can I say it super succinct? I really want the series to be like, probably not as succinct as I am on a podcast, but like really to the point and clear. And so I put quite a bit of time into researching that. I would still say it takes me like 30 minutes to an hour to create one piece of content, and I'm trying to post them at least once or twice a week. And so that's quite a bit, isn't it? Maybe not as like
I don't think it's that much. I just also, and I think it'd be great for you to do, which you're probably doing anyway, but it's like, since I've done the series, I've got 3,000 new followers. I got asked to be on a podcast. I've been like, had this exposure. And I think sometimes we feel like, oh, if I spend an hour on a piece of content, is that too much? And I just said, what's the goal? What do you want to put high quality, brand positioned like content out there that is memorable, people come back for, they want to follow you? That's sort of thing takes time and it takes a little bit of effort, because if it didn't, then it may not be as good as you want it to be.
That's so true. And everyone would be doing it. And then it's
Yeah.
hard to find what differentiates you. If it was easy to do, everyone would be doing it. I think that there's like a rhythm you have to get into, which is the hardest part of creating content because I, as an ADHDer myself, like I will go through these spurts of energy where I will just hyper focus and I'll put all of my time into creating something and then I will just ghost the platform for a few weeks. So I think it's also creating some kind of rhythm that you can do on a weekly basis that feels good, that fits into your life without you always having these like massive creative spurts of energy.
Mhm.
And that's like something that I talk to a lot of business owners, and that's like the hardest thing around creating content is like the motivation behind it. And I think the goal setting is really important because if you don't have that North Star, then what's driving you?
Yeah. And I think just getting really clear on that, because I think often we just see social media as the thing that you need to do. It's a tick the box. Did I post today? And maybe not really thinking about it in a more strategic way of, what if a brand new person saw this piece of content that I've just put out? Do they find it of value? Would it make them want to follow me? Is it speaking directly to my dream client? Like, I just think us having a clear idea of what we're trying to create is, and what the payoff is that we want. Do I want a new follower? Do I want a client? Do I want to have a conversation? What is it that I want here? And I've only done one so far. I've started my Glow and Grow series because I'm like on a health kick and I want to build bold vibes and I want to get out of a little bit of a rut that I've been feeling in. And I know a lot of, because I've been in business 10 years, like a lot of my clients who have been around for a long time are kind of feeling that, oh, we've still got to keep going. And so I wanted to create that. But even with that, I was like, it's a bit personal, it's a bit businessy. If my dream client, most of them are much further along in business, this is actually going to really resonate with them, where they're like, we need a bit of a kick up the bum. We need to reinvigorate things and be in that glow up and grow stage of now being in business for so long. So I would love to, I'm just going to get some free social media advice here from you, Zara. I love it. How are you planning? Like, how are you
Yeah.
planning your series? For any of my listeners out there, are like, okay, Zara, you've convinced me. I need to create a series. How am I planning it out?
Yes. So the first thing is I would figure out a format of that series that you can repeat time and time again. And this takes so much of the mental load out of creating content because you're not trying to think of bespoke pieces every single time. You're not trying to think of what's the new trend I'm going to jump onto or what's the new shocking thing that I have to come up with today to make my business viral. Like you don't have to do that. You just think of a format that works and you tweak it and you optimize it over time. So the first thing you do is think of what the format is. And when I'm saying format, I mean, what is the hook at the start of every video formula that you can use time and time again? Or in my series, I say it's episode X of How to Think Like a Marketer, the series that blah, 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 blah. It's one sentence that explains what it is so that every cold audience that taps onto a new video, no matter where they are in the series, knows what's going on from the get-go. So come up with a little script that you can use time and time again. And then I would think about the format of the video itself. So what's the editing style? Have you got like a font that you can use every single time or a heading that you can use every single time so that it becomes recognizable? So once you decide that, then all the planning you need to do is what's the new tweak of topic that you're going to address every single time. And for you, it might be like a challenge that you've set yourself that you can do daily or weekly updates on how that's tracking. Or it could be, I love like those series where they say it's day one of trying to be XYZ, or it's day two, and they just do that over and over again and they just document their journey. Like something as simple as that is really great. But I think the first thing is just finding the format and then repeating it over and over again. And you'll start to see what people resonate with and what they don't. The other thing I do want to recommend is putting your face first in every piece of content. So that can also be a part of what's recognizable. But I've also noticed with my own content and my clients that when there's a drink bottle or there's a laptop as the first frame, it's just not as eye grabbing. So always having your face first in every piece of content is really important too.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, great. So, Zara, what's your TikTok handle? Just we'll have it in the show notes as well. But just for those that are listening at the moment,
It's Zara Jarvis. The it's is included.
it. So make sure, yeah. So we're going to keep going, but just make sure while we're in this stage of the chat, go follow Zara, check out the series so that you can see what she's talking about. I will also drop in one or two other people whose series I watch. Jade Beeson is another one who's a UK creator. And I see her series on LinkedIn. I see it on TikTok. I see it on Instagram. And I always love her content as well. And then there's another girl, and she was, I think it was like, I think she sells a planner, and it was all about just becoming the best you.
Beck Stewart. Is that you?
Maybe. She sits in a white chair.
Yes, I think we're talking about the same person, Beck Stewart, and she's on Instagram and TikTok. Is someone similar to that? But yes, she's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. And even the chair is recognizable. It's the girl that sits in the really beautiful bedroom and she's got like a round chair, like that's really big and all the rest of it. So once again, yeah, love that. So I'll put a couple of examples just so that you can go and see. But yeah, whenever I see that space and her sitting in that, I'm like, oh, this is part of the series. And I watch it. So yeah, I think that's so good. And so I'd love to know, are you using AI much in your marketing strategies at the moment? Has it changed anything for you? Are you like, Suze, I'm still doing what I've always done? Has that shifted much for you when you're looking at your clients' marketing strategies and the way that you're creating?
Yes, it definitely has. It's especially for an ADHD and myself, it takes so much of like pain out of planning for me. So I think ChatGPT is the obvious one, but I use that daily for my life, for my marketing, for my work, for every single thing. It's like my brain, but like in a computer. It's amazing. And so I use that a lot. But then I also use a program called Fixer, which is, it's like Fyxer.
I've been seeing their ads coming up in my feed recently.
Yes.
What is it? I don't know what it is. I just know I've seen it.
It's really good. It's essentially helps with, and for someone like I'm client facing, so I have a lot of,
Yeah.
I get like 100 emails a day. It's ridiculous. But I think for that, it uses AI to learn how you want your emails organized. So it'll put anything that's like a notification in a certain folder that you don't need to look at, or anything that you need to revise, it'll read it and it'll put that in a certain folder, or anything that you need to reply to immediately, it'll put that in a certain folder. So when you open your emails, everything is tagged and you can go through and prioritize what you need to do as the highest priority. I love that app. It's changed my life. Instead of just looking at this screen of like, where do I start? And for ADHD, that's like paralyzing. You're like, I'm just going to close my laptop and ignore it. Just helps me make a start. So I really love that program, but ChatGPT is my favorite one.
Okay, cool. I like Claude for writing, but the new Chat 5 is definitely, I'm like, oh, okay, I see what's happening here. And so how are you using it for planning? What are you doing if we were to get a little specific?
So for my series, what I'll do is I ask it, I get it to help me write my scripts. First of all, I ask it, what are like some ideas or some marketing concepts that I could talk about? And it'll give me heaps of ideas. And then I'll use that and I either do my own research or I'll go, okay, yes, I have an opinion on, I can create something around it. And then I'll write my own script. Usually what I actually do is I use the voice to text. So I'll just talk this really messy 5-minute script of what I would like to talk about into the voice to text feature. That way the opinion is always coming from me. I'm not right. Whatever you think about XYZ marketing, like it always is coming from my which I think is important in thought leadership because otherwise you start to sound the same as everyone else.
100%. I say this to clients all the time. When you are creating, it needs to come from you. Like it's got to come from your concepts, your models, your thought leadership, like whatever you've got, feed it. And then it can always enhance it, but you need to be the source of truth.
Exactly. And so then once I do that, I just say refine it in my formula. And because I have a Think Like a Marketer thread, it knows the little intro that it has to put in every time. And it just changes like episode 13, 14, 15, and it just updates it. And it knows the specific length that I like my videos. So it always gives me a script that's condensed the best parts of what I said into a length that's around about the 60-second mark. So that's really great. And then I just read the script and sometimes I tweak it a little bit, but usually it's pretty close to what I would have liked to say, but just more succinct.
Yeah. And are you planning anything else with it? Like as far as your content calendars and that go for either clients or other things that you're doing?
Not so much. I definitely get it to help me with LinkedIn copy sometimes, especially breaking down like big chunks of text into smaller paragraphs and, like I said, digestible content, like we were talking about earlier. The other thing I get it to do, especially when clients, if I'm working with clients and they send me really large, like detailed brand guidelines, and I need to just understand the parts of it that I need to understand, because some of it's just not relevant to what I'm trying to work on. I'll put in like really large pieces of information and I'll get it to explain it to me in a bit more of a digestible way. So I'm not sitting there reading huge paragraphs. The other thing I use it for, which is so off topic, but it's my favorite thing to talk about at the moment, is I go into my cupboard at nighttime and I write down all of the things that I have in my cupboard, like oranges and flour. And I say, what can I make for dinner? Have you tried this?
No.
Have you-
I'm a meal planner. So I'm like the only thing in my fridge is exactly what I'm cooking for the week.
Okay, I wish I was like you. Oh my
I
God.
would be so stressed if I had to go to the fridge at night and then work out what I had to cook. That would be like such a extra mental load for me. So I appreciate that it absolutely works for you. That would not. I'm like, oh my God, now I've got to work out what to do with flour and a zucchini.
Literally, that's me every night. I'm like, what can I possibly make from 2-minute noodles and a zucchini and flour? And the ChatGPT is like cookies. And I'm like, who would have known that? I would never have known.
So good. Amazing. So many things that you could do with it. I am using it for lots of different, both personal and professional things. I'm just like, I have this thought. Let me share my thought with chat and see what chat says. And I have to say, I actually went away for a girls' weekend in Dalesford this weekend just gone. And I was telling my girlfriends that chat really kicked my butt. So I was saying to chat, this is my problem. This is what I think. This is what's going well. This is what's not going well. This is like blah, blah, blah. Like I just did a huge brain dump. And I said, because I've been using it for some time, I said, based on what you know about me and the way that I operate and think, where do you think I'm going wrong? What am I doing well? And what are the gaps I need to be aware of that I may not be aware of? And can I tell you, Zara, chat kicked my butt. And I was so here for it. I'm like, if it could click at me, I would just. I was like, okay, I see what you're saying. Like, it was good.
Do you know what you did though that I think is like really important though, is that you asked it for critical feedback around what you're doing wrong. Because I think what's important to remember with AI is that it absolutely has a bias towards you and towards the person that's speaking to it. So if you're always just saying, what do you think about this situation? It's always going to side with you. If you're putting in professional leadership issues or you're like having challenges with your manager or your direct reports and you're putting them in there and you say, what do you think? It's always going to say, you're in the right, like you've done the right thing. And you're going to walk away thinking, well, I feel so
You're
empowered.
so amazing.
Yes. But it's not always going to off the bat tell you what you want to hear. And it's why it's really important to use prompts. What am I doing wrong? Where are the gaps? Where am I falling down short? And so that way you're actually getting a better view over the situation. And then ChatGPT will kick your butt.
And I love it. I'm so here for it. I was always a girl that was like, constructive feedback. I'm here for it. Tell me what I'm not doing. Tell me how I can be better. like whatever, because I'm a confident person. So I come from an optimistic, positive point of view. And so I rarely, if ever, feel threatened by this is where you could be doing better. I'm like, amazing. Thanks for that. Let's go. And yeah, so I thought it was really great. But listen, what I'd love to finish up on is where are small businesses going wrong? What are they not thinking about? This is almost us doing a little bit of a not chat, but Zara butt kick in a positive, loving way, as we always do. But where are the gaps right now that they might be experiencing, and how can they think more like a marketer?
I think there's something happening in the marketing world right now, which is, and I'm a big believer that when something swings so far in one way, like the pendulum always has to swing back, whether it's in the economy or in marketing or business or even politics. Like I always believe that the world is trying to find some sense of balance somewhere in the middle. I think with AI being such a huge focus for marketing, where small businesses, I think there's such a huge focus on that, which one thing that small businesses need to do is be open to this change, because I think of like years ago when people were like, I'm not getting on TikTok. And then 5 years later, they're like, okay, I'll be here. And it's like, we've been here for 5 years. Where have you been? Like, catch up.
I feel like you're speaking directly to me, Zara.
Sorry. So this is your heart roots.
All good, all good.
It's so good. So I think one thing is like being open-minded to the change that will happen in business and in marketing in general. But then I also think that there's a huge opportunity for small businesses right now, which is on the other side of the spectrum, which is in-person touch points and building community, which AI cannot do. AI can't be in person, tangible with your people. It can't be building relationships one-on-one, whether that's for service-based or whether that's testing and sampling your products out in public. So I think that there's an opportunity right now to be tapping into that, because people are craving human connection right now. And it's hard to know online, like what's human and what's not. So I think we need to tap into that. But at the same time, I don't want people to be turning their heads from AI, because I think that AI is actually our new norm. And like it's going to be seconds for that to sink in. But I think we need to approach it and just be open-minded.
Yeah, for sure. And as far as their marketing strategy goes, because I know we were obviously talking about that it's not just like Instagram and TikTok, etc. Like what else do they need to be thinking about as far as marketing goes in a more holistic way for their small business?
There's a concept we teach at TDP, which is like the Google marketing strategy called Hero Hub Hygiene. Have you heard of this? I think I heard you talking about something
Maybe.
on TikTok the other day, but it's Hero is like your hero campaigns. Hub sits underneath that, and that's your community building pieces. And then hygiene is the marketing strategy that keeps up the hygiene of your brand or your business. So it's like your social media or your EDMs or anything that's consistently happening. And so I think that what small businesses should look at in their marketing strategy, especially to have that holistic view, is how can you create hero campaigns or messaging that can span across all platforms. And this helps to connect everything together. So especially if you have a freelancer or an agency doing one portion of your marketing, but not others, and you're doing some of it in-house and it's split between different people, that has to be like a through line that connects everything together so that your brand can feel consistent at every touch point, but also that so that you can build those marketing touch points on the same consistent messaging with your audience. So I would say like brands, we're doing this with a lot of our brands at the moment. It's working really well. Like even just 6-week or month-long or 2-month-long hero campaigns where it's like, we're talking about this across every channel for 6 weeks. And that way everything feels connected, but you're also repurposing content between everything. Like your podcast, you do this so well where it's like the podcast isn't just a standalone content piece. It trickles through every channel. So how can you have everything work together so that you're not thinking of 10 different unique strategies for every place you're trying to show up?
Yeah, I love that. And I just don't think that a lot of my community or the women that I speak to, because that's who majority of my audience is, just aren't thinking about it on a bigger scale. It's the post is like what they're thinking about. What am I posting today? Or what am I going to post this week? And it's not really that holistic, like organic single message that is being rolled out in a organized and thoughtful way. So I think if you take nothing else away from this, that is one of the key things to really start to look at and think about as well.
Yes, so good. I think that's exactly what I'm trying to explain in the Think Like a Marketer series, that it's not about the post. It's not about
Yes.
the caption. It's about your brand holistically and how everything fits together and how everything just incrementally builds up over time. And thinking of that really zoomed out view of everything is really important.
So good. Zara, gold nuggets, like confetti. That's what's happening today. I love it. So many things to think about and be able to do. Obviously, marketing is the engine of a lot of businesses. In order to build your brand, become known, attract the clients that you want, go and follow Zara if you're not already. Are you sharing it on Instagram as well, or just on TikTok?
Oh my gosh, I'm so not good on Instagram. I have a fear of Instagram.
The majority of people have a fear of TikTok. You've got a fear of Instagram.
I really do. I'm scared of Instagram, and Instagram's scared of me. Which I'm trying there, but I find it so much harder to show up there and to grow there as well. TikTok's
But I
like,
think that your series would do so well on Instagram.
no,
Like I said, Jade Beeson, she just shares the same thing everywhere. And I'm still like, yeah, cool. I'm watching. Like, I'm all good. And I was actually saying the other day, it's really interesting. I just feel like it's becoming this one melting pot because I'm actually getting suggested on Instagram people who I follow on TikTok.
how is that happening? I'm so
So,
curious.
well, like
Yeah.
somebody that I follow on TikTok that I've never seen on Instagram before, she came up as a suggested. We think you'll like. And there's been a few of those as well. And there's somebody else that I follow on. It's like when you mention something and your phone starts
I know.
suggesting it to you. I feel like that's what I mean. It's just all intertwined. And there was somebody else that I was following on YouTube, and they were also suggested to me on Instagram recently as well. And I have never followed them or watched their stuff on Instagram. So I'm like, I feel like there is stuff happening in the back end where I'm just seeing creators across platforms. So yeah, that's just, I would just be like, if you want to, I think your
No,
series would do well on Instagram. Why not?
I should. I need to. I do have Instagram. I'm just like not good there. And I post that. I will do. Thank you. None.
So good. Amazing. So good. Zara, do you want us to follow you anywhere else besides TikTok?
You can. I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn. You're welcome to follow me there as well. If you search Zara Jarvis or it's Zara Jarvis on Instagram, it'll come up. But TikTok is definitely my home. So everyone can come along and hang out there. And yeah, I'm really excited. I'm excited to watch your journey as well. I've been loving the content you're posting on TikTok. I'm obsessed.
Thank you. I'm just going to tell you as well, and I've already told this to all of my followers and listeners. It's awkward. I'm like in that awkward teenage stage where I'm like, oh, I'm going to post it, but I don't know. But I'm also just got to put it out there and learn. And I thought it was interesting when you said you had posted 100 videos and then you did the series and you gained like 3,000 followers. And I was listening to somebody on YouTube the other day and they were like, it's the 100. It's like when you create 100 videos, you learn what works, you find your groove, you find your like the comfort a little bit more, just going. And I feel like I'm in that. Oh, every time I
Period. Like, what do they say? Fringe Mountain. You have to like climb Fringe Mountain to get to the safe place on the other side.
yeah.
Absolutely test and learn on TikTok is so important. I think all of the content that has worked really well for me on TikTok has been a natural evolution of everything I've tested over years. So you'll notice like little things that, oh, that landed well. Oh, this landed well. This didn't do so well. And you can just double down on the things that work for you. But also, you don't look awkward on there at all. You look like a pro. And I think it's like also a reminder that like you feel silly sometimes, but you just don't. People don't think that of you. You always think that of yourself.
Yeah. I remember Cherie said, you're one of the comfort creators. And I'm like, so awkward. So awkward on there. I just had to laugh. I'm like, are you joking? Because I'm like butt clenching every time I post on TikTok because I'm just like, I don't know what I'm doing. Let's just see what happens.
Oh my God, that is wild to me that you think that of yourself because I agree with Sheree 100%. And I think everyone listening right now would be like, what are you talking about this? But it just goes to show you like it's such a universal experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So good. Zara, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your wisdom. And I will continue to watch the series as well. But yeah, so appreciate you coming on and just chatting with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. So much fun. Thank you. Bye.